Hey there, Chadi Bazzi here, and welcome to another episode of the Top Agent Show. Today we have an exciting guest for you who we are going to dive into multiple different conversations and multiple different things, as she is known in the real estate world as the short sale queen. She's also a leader of a team across 13 states whose team will also do over 300 transactions this year. So with that said, you know that I am going to go into her head, I am going to go into her business, and I am going to give you a lot of nuggets here today. So with that said, I'd like to welcome to the show, Nicole. I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name. I never try to pronounce anybody's last name, even though it might be an easy one. So Nicole, introduce yourself. Who are you? And tell us a little bit about your journey and why our audience should listen to you because you're so awesome.
Yes, thank you so much. So Nicole Espinosa, and I can totally appreciate, I host a show too, so I can totally appreciate not trying to pronounce last names. But thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here. So Nicole Espinosa, my company is the Short Sale Queen, branded that way a couple years ago. We were always local, but when we expanded nationwide, we decided to, that was my nickname for the last 10 years in the industry. So I decided to brand it that way. And honestly, it just really took off, especially on social media. So we have two different parts of our business. One is the team of what you're speaking about, where I do have agents all over the country, as well as a staff of 11 people that help with the processing of the short sales. We just do short sales. So it's a very unique business, hence the name, right? Short Sale Queen. So it's a very unique business that we highly specialize, but we also have an education side to it. So we teach agents across the country how to process short sales and really spend a lot of time educating the community, because this is a niche that most people in the industry have no clue about. And so we're always trying to give back and really teach them. So that way, the more people we're educating, they're going to do right by their clients and, put the right information out there.
Well, I would have never been able to introduce you the way you just introduced yourself. And yes, you are known as the short sale queen. And quite honestly, you're absolutely right. Most people have no idea how to go about a short sale, to the point that when they hear the word short sale, they gravitate away from it. And there's opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, when in reality, it's just like any other lead generation system. If you understand it and put in the time to learn how to work it, you, in essence, are helping out a lot of people in the process.
Okay? Absolutely. I mean, what we do is really a service-based transaction, right? Not only are we helping someone, with selling their home, but we're helping them avoid foreclosure and settle their debt and move on to the next chapter of their lives. So I'm sure, as you can tell, like it can also be an emotional transaction. So dealing with these type of sellers is completely different than with a traditional motivated seller.
You're absolutely right. So, Nicole, a couple of different things in regards to the conversation that we're going to steer. One of the things that I want to talk about before I talk about, short sales. Okay. Yeah. I want to talk about, you being in the industry and how you got to where you're at right now. Like, what was your journey? You started how many years ago? How many transactions were you doing back then? How did you discover this multi-year short sale thing? How'd you run with it, etc.? So, why don't you
absolutely. So my first exposure to the industry was actually REO, which are foreclosures. And I got into the industry in 2009, and I was working for an REO broker, which is real estate owned foreclosure brokerage, and really was running the office and managing the listings at the time. So I was working with asset managers and really learning all of the hard stuff. That was my really introduction to the industry. I got licensed and decided the last thing I wanted to do was work for the banks, right? And so in my mind, I was like, I am not doing this. Like this, it was a terrible job, but it taught me so much. And I say it was terrible because, I was evicting homeowners. I was, processing foreclosures, like things like that. And so it's a completely different ballgame when you're getting pictures back of like people in their homes of, having to kick them out and things like that. So that was my first exposure to the industry. And then I got my license and decided to, really figure out what I wanted to do. I'm like, okay, I was a new ignorant agent and just was like, hey, I'm going to do real estate, right? So I remember I had lived across the street from a Keller Williams office. This is how green I was. And I was like, hey, I need to hang my license somewhere. So let me just go to this office and get a broker. And I was already used to working, 8 to 10 hour days. So I already had that discipline of like being in the office and being on the phones. And I was there every single day. I was on phone time and I was trying to figure out my business. And unlike most agents that have the ability to have like a sphere of influence, I had just moved here like 2 or 3 years prior from Florida. And where here is, I'm based out of Texas. So I was only 23 years old. I didn't know anybody that would take me seriously enough to actually refer business to me. So I had to literally start from scratch and really not know anything. And so it had just so happened that my first listing was a short sale. And at the time when I went to the client's house, I'm so excited because I got a listing appointment, right? And I went to the guy's house and he needed to list it at a certain price, but he owed too much. And when I went back to the broker, they were like, it's a waste of time. Let it go. Don't even worry about it. It's not worth it. And I'm like, whoa. I just got my first listing. What are you talking about? And in the time I was like, no, I need to close this. Like, I know so many agents that mentally are like, I already spent the money, right? Like I got this percentage or whatever. And I called the bank, and again, just so green, I was like, I'll figure this out. I called the bank and I was like, hey, what do I need to do a short sale? And literally was on the phone for an hour and a half with them, like asking a million questions because no one I knew understood it. And they were telling me to stop. And I was like, no, I'm going to figure this out. I've worked with banks before. There's no, I know how they work. And that's honestly how I started all of it. Like my first listing was a short sale. It was rough, but I got it closed.
It was meant to be.
Huh?
I said it was meant to be. I mean, like,
Yeah.
short sale, first listing, yes.
Exactly. And it was just crazy how everything evolved. And then I realized like, this is a huge opportunity. I'm really good at figuring out solutions. I wasn't taking no for an answer and I was able to get it done. So there's a huge opportunity where most people don't understand. And over the next 3 or 4 years, started developing my process. And then I started teaching about it. So once I figured it out, I started teaching about it here locally. And that's how I started gaining my reputation of like, okay, she knows what she's talking about, referred it to Nicole. And that was really the start of all of it, of the whole process.
And that's how you became the short sale queen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, thousands of transactions later, right? I mean, you don't get a brand and a reputation like what we have over 1 or 2 transactions. I mean, this is the last decade of doing what we were going to do, following through and getting it done. So our reputation is literally our entire business. We are 100% referral. So real estate agents across the country, as well as investors, they refer to us by referral only, which is huge because, of course, in this industry, especially when realtors are the ones referring over to you, there's something to it, right?
Right. So just so I'm clear on this, Nicole. So you don't do regular traditional real estate, or do you do some traditional real estate, or you just primarily 100% short sale?
All we do is short sales. I have a team that does traditional, but my staff, everything, like we only do short sales.
Got it. How many short sales will you guys close this year?
So that's what we're saying, that we're on track for 300. My traditional team is completely separate from the short sale business.
Got it. Okay. And how do you go about finding, I know you get a lot of referrals, but is there anything specifically, like somebody's listening out there right now and they're like, oh, wow, this is something I never really thought about. It's just something I got to learn. How do I find a short sale? Because not everybody gets a short sale referral, et cetera. How do I go about getting into that niche? Like if I'm interested in getting into that niche, where would I begin?
You would begin by prospecting pre-foreclosures. So the best and easiest way to do this is to get pre-foreclosure lists and to start cold calling and prospecting and doing kind of direct marketing to the sellers.
Hold on a second, Nicole. You said something that a lot of people don't want to hear. Did you say cold calling?
Oh, yeah, that's how I started. That's how I started. I mean, look, cold calling will be your best teacher. I am a strong believer that everyone should start out cold calling. And the reason why is because if you can figure out how to overcome those objections, you're going to be invincible. Like you need to understand what objections you're facing in order to really even secure more clients in the appointments and build rapport. But if you don't know what they are, you're not really going to go very far. So I think cold calling is the best teacher.
Well, I wanted to just bring that out there because I know a lot of people resist that word cold calling, et cetera. I'm an advocate of the fact that I have clients that do over 100 transactions a year just from picking up the phone and making phone calls. So now I'm thinking about some of my clients who, do call for sale by owners and do call expireds. They're obviously very good on the phone. So this is just another opportunity for them that could, are there short sales everywhere right now? Are we going to see more? Is the market going to shift? Like, are you guys getting ready for another wave or something? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So we've been gearing up this last year when COVID happened because we saw so many people go into forbearance, and we saw so many people that were getting, right now it's not a secret, right? Shortage of inventory, prices have been going crazy, multiple offers across the nation in every market, right? Not just certain states or popular areas. So the reason why, and people can't wrap their brain around kind of what I'm saying, because the only thing that traditional agents see is the fact that they can't get clients a house, right? They're like, what are you talking about? But people need to see the bigger picture, right? Bigger picture means the economy has been pumped with stimulus money. We have people that have been protected from getting evicted as well as getting foreclosed on for over a year. Right. And so what we know from experience is that generally when people are behind on one thing, they're behind on everything else. And so when you are over a year behind on your mortgage and you don't qualify for any type of loan assistance or modification with your bank, you have to either come up with those funds or sell. Right. So we're already seeing, we finally, the forbearance is up at the end of this month. I say that because, Biden has just been kicking the can down the road of keep pushing this out. And now people are coming to a decision of, okay, do I sell? Do I try to drag it out? So what I believe is going to happen, and I've been saying the last couple months, is that there's going to be waves of different homeowners that are going to need to sell. Now, depending on how far behind they are and how upside down, they could just be, a traditional seller that's just like, hey, I need to sell before foreclosure. And they might get lucky because this market's crazy. But what happens is when we have more sellers, we have more of a balanced market, where now if you have more of a balanced market, you have people that don't have the luxury to wait to sell. And now you start seeing price reductions. And so it's going to take a while. It's not going to be like an overnight thing, but we are going to see waves of homeowners that have to sell.
We're already beginning to see in different pockets of the country, because I work with agents from all over the country, we're beginning to see in some parts of the country more inventory. What used to sell in 24 hours is now taking 24 days or longer.
Yep.
Buyers are becoming a little bit,
buyer fatigue,
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm wholeheartedly 100%, with you, and we're preparing everybody for it. And there are going to be a lot of people even in their databases to the point to where they don't need to make any cold calls, that are going to need the assistance of a real estate professional. And if you don't know how to have that, short sale conversation or be able to say, hey, based on your scenario, you have option A, option B, option C, et cetera, then you're going to be doing nothing but referring that business out to the short sale queen and the likes of the short sale queen when that business can be yours. Okay, so I want to get a little bit more educated on this. Now I know how, call pre-foreclosures. I can get some from RedX. I can probably get some from a title company, et cetera. If you just go to Google, you can find out where to get those from. Do you have a resource that we can share, by the way?
Yeah, so I'm a big advocate for RedX because they have a really simple system, and I use them for a long time. A lot of my mentees in my mentorship program will use them because Vortex has a dialer, and they already scrub the list for you. So that is probably, out of all of the systems I've seen, is probably the easiest, most user-friendly. They also make sure that if it's listed or if it's been listed, they kind of scrub the MLS. So honestly, if you're a realtor, if you're an investor, that's a different avenue. I would recommend batch leads, but if you're a realtor, definitely go with RedX.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that, Nicole. And if you give us your RedX link, we'll go ahead and make sure that we link it in the show notes for everyone to have instant access to that. Now, so all right, I like this conversation, Nicole. I see like the next wave coming, and I want my little piece of the pie. Now you shared with me exactly where I get the leads from, and I'm thinking to myself, how is this conversation going to be any different than having a conversation with a for sale by owner, or or expired, or just listen? Do you have any guidance on that? Like, I mean, these sellers, is it a different conversation?
Oh, 100%, because you have to think about this. The motivation's different, right? So you're talking about someone who needs you but doesn't want you, okay? They need your help, but they don't want your help, right? So talking to someone like that, somebody who kind of buries their head in the sand and avoids it until the last minute, the psychology is completely different. So you have a for sale by owner who wants to sell the house, they don't have a foreclosure date or anything like that. It's going to be a different conversation on selling them, right? When you're talking to someone that's in foreclosure and that's losing their home, you're not selling them on anything. You're trying to be a resource and adding value to educate them. And so one of my biggest things that I talk about when prospecting is educating and not selling, because a lot of agents get this, commission breath, and they get this like, salesy, whatever, and they do not care about you, the agent. They care about how can you be the solution to their problem. So if you go into it providing solutions, you're going to build rapport faster and you're going to get that client. But if you go into it saying, hey, I'm the best, I specialize in this and I can help you and blah, 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 they're going to be like, no, thanks. I'm taken care of. I got it. Thanks. Because they don't feel confident, and you haven't spent the time to educate them because they're overwhelmed. They're about to lose their home. They have a foreclosure date, and they are getting heavily solicited by foreclosure attorneys, bankruptcy attorneys, other realtors, a ton of investors. So how can you be the professional that stands out and educates them on a bigger picture of what their options truly are?
And you're entering in a conversation with someone that may be a little bit confused because they really don't understand all their options, because they're getting this piece of mail, they're getting this email, they're getting this person and that person, different perspectives, different people saying different things. So I think they're a little bit confused, and I think they're very emotional.
100%. So emotional. Like, you are going to hear their whole life story. And here's the thing: people in this situation, they have a financial hardship. So something bad has happened to them that has put them in this situation. So understanding that is super important, because you're almost becoming like part therapist, which I'm sure all realtors already feel like we're part therapists in certain situations. But this is specifically, one of those situations where you have to listen, figure out what their hardship is and what got them into this situation, so you can guide them in the right option for them.
How likely is it for people to open up to you on that first call when you call them? Like, are they receptive? They're receptive to the call, or you got to be very skilled at developing rapport and getting people to trust you to open up to you?
It's not hard to get someone to open up once they have their walls down, once they realize that you're someone that can help them. But generally on the first call, I'm always going to find out what their situation is.
Can we go through like a little role play? I know I'm putting you on the spot right here. Can we do like just a little introduction of how you open up the
camera? No problem. Okay. Right, it's fine. I'm used to it. RedX did this to me the other day, and I was just laughing because we were live, and they're like, "We're going to do role playing," and I was like, "Okay, let's do it."
I love it. I love it. And by the way, let me just say something about that real quickly to our audience. I'm going to say it doesn't matter whether you're going to be calling for sale by owners, expired, circle dialing, short sales. It doesn't matter what the lead generation source. One of the things that you definitely want to be working on is how do you equip yourself with the right strategies and the right skills, so when you are presented with an opportunity or a challenge, just like I'm challenging Nicole right now, you say, come on, bring it on. I am ready, because that is the difference. That's going to make the difference in how many transactions you end up closing. Forget about the number of transactions, how many people you actually can help in the next year, et cetera, et cetera. So Nicole, I'm behind on my mortgage. Talk to me.
Sure. Hey, and it's Chadi, right?
Chadi.
Hey, Chadi.
I worked with the family, the Ferry family for 12 years, And Tom Ferry for 12 years would call me Chadi, you know. I'm used to being called just about anything, so it's all good. Chad.
Okay, all right, let's start. Hey, Chadi. Okay, so you're behind on your mortgage. Tell me what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, COVID hit. We were, displaced. My work was displaced. We tried to do things a little bit differently, working out at the home. The company couldn't stay afloat. They cut down our hours.
Yeah.
And, my wife lost her job, and, it's been, we've been playing catch up ever since. And we found ourselves here, and so this is where we are right now.
Okay, so I'm looking at your address right now, and it looks like you have a foreclosure date in the next 3 weeks. So have you had a discussion with your lender? Have you tried doing any type of workout options with the bank?
You know what? I've had a lot of people call me, and I've even had people harass me on the phone.
Yeah.
I don't know who to trust. And I've had some conversations, and none of them really look like they are in my favor. And, me and the wife have been praying for a solution. And,
Right.
we're 3 weeks away, and we just don't know what to do.
Okay, so in your situation, because your financial hardship is that you have a reduction of income, the different options that your lender has is either a loan modification, where they actually modify the terms of your loan so that you can become current again, or a short sale where we can negotiate with your bank to actually settle your debt so you can walk away free and clear from that. Now, in order to qualify for the loan modification, you have to actually prove that you can afford the house and that your hardship is temporary. But because your wife has a reduction of income and you're making significantly less, it sounds like you would qualify for the short sale where you wouldn't have to owe anything. So the first priority would be to get that foreclosure stopped since you're 3 weeks away. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to ask you a couple questions and get some information from you. And then what I'd like to do is meet you at the house with your wife so I can go over all of this in person and we can walk you through all the paperwork. But this is definitely something that we can help you with.
Is that simple?
It is that simple. Really, the hardest part is dealing with the banks, and we take care of all of it for you. So we have relationships with all of the major lenders. And the priority is to get your debt settled, stop the foreclosure, and then get your debt settled. And our average time frame is 3 to 4 months from start to finish. So we'll keep updated every step of the way so that you understand what's going on, so you can stay in the house, give you some breathing room, and then we can help you relocate.
Perfect. Let's set an appointment.
All right. See, that was way easy. Like I have people that are like, usually generally, just to give you guys context, generally the hardest part is the beginning, right? Because in the beginning, they're like, who the hell are you? Like, I don't care. And so when I'm on the phone, I'm relentless. They could curse me out and tell me to go to hell. And I would literally respond, it sounds like you're so frustrated. I'm so sorry. I know this can be frustrating, but look, here's the deal. And so, because you have to understand that you can't take it personal, right? These objections are because they don't understand why they need to talk to you. I know in my head, I'm the best thing that's ever going to happen to them because I'm going to stop their foreclosure and I'm going to help them, when I know other people are not equipped to do that. But it's my job to show them that what my value is, right? So I got to get past that wall. And then once they start opening up to me about their situation, it's easy. I got it in the bag.
You know what? Here's the thing. We did have an easy role play session, here. And just like anything else, on the flip side, yeah, it could be a little bit more difficult and a little bit more challenging. And that's where you really got to do your due diligence and understand what are the objections, what frustrates people the most and how can I overcome that? But also wanted to demonstrate that if you actually just pick up the phone and make the phone calls, sometimes it really can be that easy. It could be that difficult.
100%.
It depends on, what stage of the process they are in. Are they 3 weeks away from foreclosure? Are they a couple months away from foreclosure? It depends where they're at. And then obviously you got to understand the options that you can give people, because if you don't understand what options to give to people, then you're just as confused as they are and you ain't going anywhere. So how do I educate myself on the whole entire short sale process? Like, where do we begin? how do I know if someone is, like can do a modification or, stop foreclosure? Sounds to me like there's a lot of work that needs to get done on the back end. Is that a true statement or what?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is a whole other, there's so much to it because you have every different loan type that has a different process, right? You're going to do an FHA short sale. It's going to be completely different from conventional. And so this goes back to the education piece. This was something that I've been super passionate about because there is, even on a national association level with realtors, it blows my mind that there's no education when it comes to short sales. And it's no wonder that so many realtors are kind of walking around blind, like, well, what do you want me to do? You're going through it. You have no way of really learning it. So we have a lot of resource for realtors in the community. If you head to the website, thessqueen.com, we have our short sale course. We have the actual manual. We wrote like the how-to do, like the inspiration was like short sales for dummies, right? Where we literally walk you through everything from start to finish. We did not hold anything back. Like we give you our whole process as well as case studies. And we even give you our actual short sale packet that we have that we use. So it's a lot. We also do live short sale classes where agents can come and ask questions. And then we have, if you're wanting to build out that business, like this is your niche, we also have a mentorship program. That's a 12-week program. So there's a ton of resources that we have that are really insignificant in cost, but that can really help you really be the resource for your community and your sphere of influence. Because even if you don't want to specialize in it, it's important that you understand the basics because you still want to be the go-to person in your sphere of influence, right? You may not know everything, but at least you know the direction to refer them to so that people can still keep coming back to you like, hey, she knows, or he knows, what I need to be doing next.
I love that. So did you say the SS?
Queen.com.
Perfect. Okay. We want to make sure we link that in the show notes at tlashow.com or chadibazzi.tv. So we'll go ahead and make sure we do that. And obviously, you're the expert on this topic. So I'm curious, Nicole, is there a question that I should ask you that I haven't asked you that I should ask you to illuminate this a little bit more?
Yeah. So I think it's important that, you asked me earlier, do you do traditional? And I was like, no, I stay in my lane. Like I practice what I preach. And I really, truly believe that it's so important as a real estate agent that you either understand or you refer. Like you either know what you're doing or you refer it out. And I think a lot of us get excited. Like, again, I'll go back to when I first started and I was just this hungry, eager agent that just needed the money, right? But this type of transaction, when you're dealing with a short sale, you're literally responsible for someone's house, whether they lose it or not. And if you don't know what you're doing, they can get foreclosed on because they trusted you. So if you guys don't understand, take the time to learn or refer it out. And that's just what it is, commercial, residential, anything. So I think it's really important. I also think it's important to understand that things are changing. In the next couple of years, the market's going to look so different. So you're going to have more and more people in your circle of influence that's going to have questions about, should I do a loan modification? What do I do after forbearance? Like, is a short sale the best option? Should I sell? And as the realtors in the community, we need to be the professionals that have those answers. So they're not going to, these local investors who are just trying to, buy their house cheap, or going to Zillow, or going, to the internet. God forbid they Google it, right? So I think it's really important as professionals that we understand so that we can be a resource for the community and really be the leaders in the community.
Perfect. So look, everyone out there, you need to at least understand the process. And once you understand the process, you could at least steer someone in the right direction, whether it's the right direction is to do it with you and or refer out to someone else. But you gotta have that resource, because if you don't, then you're no longer going to be perceived as the go-to person. Now, the question I have here, Nicole, is that I have a very good business. Okay, and I'm doing a good amount of deals every single year, and I see the wave. Is this something that is going to be so time consuming that it's going to take away from my other business? I mean, that's a valid question. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely, it is. If I only had one or two, I would never do it. I mean, it only makes sense because we do a high volume of it, because it does take more time. You know, you're sitting here waiting on the calls of the banks. Like when we call Wells Fargo, we call all 20 listings with Wells Fargo, right? You know, there's no like predictability as far as closing dates and timelines. So you could spend 4 or 5 months on a deal and it would be taking away from your other traditional. So I don't think it makes sense to do 1 or 2. I think if you're wanting to do short sales and process them, I think it makes sense to do multiple and really go in and specialize in it, because things are constantly changing and evolving. So in order to really understand, you have to keep doing it.
And does it matter what marketplace I'm in? Like, you know, certain marketplaces, it's high end. Maybe I'm in the high end and I'm like, ain't nobody gonna go under foreclosure in my neighborhood or anything like that. Like, do you see like different pockets of, you know, like different neighborhood, urban, et cetera, kind of thing?
No, I mean, remember, short sales are somebody in a financial hardship. So financial hardship can hit any price point. So we've done, you know, $1 million homes, and we've done the $20,000. So there really isn't. Now, of course, FHA buyers or FHA sellers are always going to be the majority of short sales, because they put, you know, a very small amount down, so they have less equity. So if something does happen, they do end up in a short sale. But we do it all across the board.
Got it. Tell me a little bit more about your training, because you definitely got my attention, and I know you got the attention of somebody else. So we're going to go to your website. From your website, you said you have a training. Can you tell me what that training walk? Because I know there's somebody out there right now saying, I want to be the king. She's the queen. I want to be the king of short sales.
Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you how many messages I've gotten over the last 10 years that literally were like, I'm going to be the king of short sales. And that always makes me laugh. Hey, you know what? No one's branded it yet. So if you're listening, you still have the chance to brand as the short sale king. But anyways, so yeah, so our training, it starts with, you know, there's different supplements, right? So we have the actual manual, the manual that we talked about has, you know, pretty much everything, the whole process. It walks you through from when you first get the client, like pre-qualifying them, to listing it, to the different loan types, to case studies. And you also get all of our short sale paperwork, like our packet that we've customized. So you have that. Then you have the live class that we do every month. And we actually teach you from the manual, and it gives you an opportunity to ask questions. And then we have the course that's about 11 videos. And if you go at your own pace, you get certified afterwards. And we do role playing, how to work with investors, how to work with homeowners, how to overcome objections. And then we also go over the most common things that happen, like the most, which I can't, my brain's not working, but the most common objections and things like that.
So we do get objection handlers, we get scripts, and you know how to do it.
Yes, and it does come with pre-foreclosure scripts.
I love it. I love it. So to our audience that are either watching this video and or listening to this on the podcast,
yeah.
Look, you know, just make a decision. And I think the decision that you should make is that at least I have to understand it. I have to understand it. It's something that you're not going to be able to avoid. There's going to be someone that's going to call you and say, hey, I'm faced with this. How can you help me? And your way of helping is going to be either to do the transaction for them if you know how to do it. And if you don't know how to do it, you got to have someone to refer to. So this is going to be a conversation that's going to be unavoidable. And I don't care where you are in the country. We've experienced it before. It's been happening on the down low. Like, you know, foreclosures never went away. You know, short sales never went away. The conversation about it went away because different people, you know, were focused on different things. It's something that you should definitely prepare for. And that's why we brought you the short sale queen on here on the show as our trusted resource for you to tap into and get your education from. Any final questions, comments, any words of wisdom, Nicole, before we end the show today?
No, I appreciate you having me on. I had a great conversation, and you know, we are happy to be a resource for any agents that have questions. Has all of our information. We have agents call the office all the time that just have questions. So we're happy to do that for you.
Excellent. We're gonna put all the places that people can get a hold of you, how to follow you on Instagram, how to, you know, follow you on Facebook, everywhere you're online. We'll link your website to the show notes as well too. So make sure you go to tlashow.com and access everything about the short sale queen. I appreciate you. Thank you very much for your time, and hope to have you on the show again sometime in the near future. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Welcome.